And then Michael Penix goes to UW under Kalen DeBoer. So I want to start with Penix, and then you can kind of give me your thoughts on some of the other guys. But Michael Penix, to me, in Washington's a big-time job. Right? And I was just there over the weekend. He hasn't been named the starter. I'll tell you this, after seeing practice, all three dudes, Dylan Morris, Sam Heward, and Michael Penix, I think they could all win games in the league. And that's not even me like being the Pac-12 guy here. Like that's legit. I think all three can win games. Dylan has won big games, beat Utah a couple in 2020 in the pandemic shortened year, and a big comeback in the second half. And Sam Heward is in his second year, a la Ty Thompson. He'll be the guy there at some point in his career. So what do you think of that get from a guy who took college football by storm a couple years ago at Indiana, and now he's on Montlake? George,
go ahead, Adam.
Go ahead,
Adam. I'll take it. Go ahead, Adam. Yeah, take it, Adam.
I mean, yeah, he was special at Indiana. I think the transfer portal this year has given us so many cool stories of guys that are getting second chances to revive their careers. You know, we mentioned we talked about Bo Nix a bunch, talk about Emory Jones, but yeah, Penix has been special, and I think that Washington offense is going to be much improved from what we saw the last couple of years, and it couldn't have gotten much worse. But they've got some playmakers. We'll see who ends up walking out with that starting quarterback job. Obviously, Sam Heward's played a lot of football there, but overall, I think Washington has a chance to take their program in the right direction after that kind of embarrassing last couple of years they've had, and I think it all comes down for them to recruiting their home state, and keeping their best players home. And I think DeBoer is going to be able to do that. You can't lose guys like Josh Connerly to Oregon. You got to keep him home in Washington. And I think DeBoer is the right guy to do it. I don't know if they're going to be great this season, but obviously getting Penix is a good step in the right direction.
I 100% back you on Penix. Again, being battle tested means so much in college football because you don't get all these years to accrue. Penn State primetime game opener 2 years ago. Penix, I think they were like 3 touchdown dogs at home, beats them. It's just some old find a way to get in there. He's diving for pylons. He's getting to the third and fourth read in the fourth quarter, withstanding the pressure, puts a big scare in Ohio State, took big shots downfield. And a lot of kids, I say that because a lot of quarterbacks, when they're back there, if a defender is 1 or 2 strides from you, I'm off of everything else except preservation. And Penix, almost to his detriment, has shown I'm a stay, hang. You're going to have to wipe me off this field. I'm going to throw this dagger. And he did. And yeah, unfortunate for his circumstances there injury-wise, but he proved I'm a scary force in the Big Ten. Okay, now he goes to UW. And to Yogi's point, we know the other 2 youngsters sitting behind him or sitting with him because they haven't, kind of navigated that. That might be the deepest room in the conference at quarterback, top to bottom. And like what a luxury that new staff has. I would take it a step further. Yeah, I think every school has to keep the in-state kids in as best as possible. But UW, when they really got rolling, they came down to California, like most of the Pac-12 does. But when they really got going, and now you're talking about your perimeter weapons, and yeah, a lot of those defensive stalwarts, if you look back over the years, were California kids they were able to build trust with, recruit them, win the recruit, and get them up there on campus. And lastly, this is a winning staff. They stayed together as a unit. Look how many coaches on DeBoer's staff were together at Indiana and then came down to Fresno State, got going, and then as a unit go up there to Washington. A lot of familiarity. And I say that because that's not always the case. Look at Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly's staff at LSU may have 1 or 2 like of the front 12 position coaches from Notre Dame, and he had to basically make a brand new all-star team of coaches. Now he'll go and get it done because he's a great coach, but there's a lot to be said for culture, familiarity, a through line, who are we, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I am really excited about this Husky team but it really is going to come down to can they punch up? Like we'll credit them for the wins we think they should get, but the turning point is going to be when UCLA comes into town, when you show down at the Coliseum, when you get a chance to go to Eugene. Do you have the ability to punch up this year? You got a vet at the helm, which is their best shot to do it. But are you, as a culture and program, capable of punching up? Can you get somebody to stagger and fall?
Yeah, so some things there just to clean up. I think all valid points. Adam, I think you said embarrassing last couple of years. I think that's a thought around them. Remember, in 2020, they won the North. Then they all got COVID and couldn't play in the title game. Right? Like, so last year, it was just that dark that it seems like that cloud is just kind of continually hanging. I think for the state of Washington, I think they've gone out of state to get some talented players, but Myles Gaskin, Budda Baker, there's some talented players that have been in their backyard as well that they've kept home. So I think there's points to both of those of, can you build a pseudo fence around that state and go find some talented players like John Ross, for instance, is an example of an elite skill player for them. I'm really intrigued for them because their schedule is pretty fun. Like, they don't play SC, and they go to UCLA on a Friday night. If you're going to play anyone in LA, you want them on a Friday night. Like, it's just hard to get anywhere on a Friday night. Like, the crowd's probably going to be late arriving. Like, we just know that
that's
to be
good
reality.
Insight. That's insight.
Yeah, so I say this, and this is kind of my bold prediction. One of them for the year. I did this on the Pac-12 networks this week. I think they beat Michigan State in week 3 at home. And I think Husky Nation kind of feels some joy because it's been a minute, right? Like, they were supposed to play Michigan in 2020 at home. That game, of course, like everybody else in the country, non-conference wise, got knocked out because of COVID. So this fan base hasn't had like a big time home game in a minute. And we've all been there and been on that sideline. That fan base is as passionate as there is in the country. And it's in a city. Like, it's not like in the sticks in Jurassic Park, for instance, as George referenced earlier. I mean, this is a major metropolitan area that throw down for UW. So I think it's a big moment as Mel Tucker comes to town. And I'm excited for this team. Transfer-wise, they bring in a bunch of running backs. They bring in a running back out of Virginia who was a captain there. He's in his 6th year. Wayne, I don't want to mispronounce his last name. I don't have my pronunciation guide in front of me. They bring in Cam Bright from Pitt, a transfer captain at Pitt. Like, again, we talk about these new coaches. Like, how fast can you get your guys to trust and buy in, right? Michael Penix played for Kalen DeBoer. He's calling his plays. Right? So I think there's something to that for UW. They have talent. Like, it's not like recruiting dramatically fell off. Like, they missed on Connerly. They missed on some big names. Emeka, they missed on a D lineman who went to Ohio State last year, but it's like they don't have anybody there. Like, I think that cupboard is fuller than people think. And to Adam's point, like, it's just that cloud kind of hung over and continues to, but they're doing well in recruiting. And I think that offensive staff, there's one thing I really feel strongly about this year is what they're going to do on offense. Like, Kalen DeBoer has just proven. He and his OC, they've just proven it year in and year out. I think regarding some of the other transfer quarterbacks that I want to give a little love to.
Wait, quick question on the Dogs before we roll, because I want to talk quarterbacks. But for both of you, like, everything's relative. So, what is a successful season for the Washington Huskies, given Yogi, like, all these positive aspects that they've either overcome, sustained, or have going in their favor? What's a winning season for them?
I think in year 1, getting back to a bowl game. Like, I think 6, 7, maybe you can get to 8 wins. Like, I think that's this thing moving in the right direction. Because they're one of those programs that, okay, they're not, call it top 10 blue bloods, but they're like right below that as a blue blood. Like, they could catch fire. Chris Peterson's a great example of what happened, right? His first year and a half was a challenge, and then it got going, and then boom, it really picked up a bunch of heat, and they go to the playoff and hang with Alabama, at least in the game, if you go back and you watch that one. So that's what I see. I think they start off 2-0. Michigan State, you can call it a toss-up. Then they get Stanford. They go to UCLA, at ASU, versus Arizona at Cal. I think a lot of those teams, starting with ASU, Arizona, and Cal, like, we don't really know what they're going to be by midseason. And there's a chance that I could say, yeah, UW, Michael Penix is rolling. Like, this dude he's a threat. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see ZTF come back. Their edge rusher who had made a lot of plays last year. I think they've got some unique depth there. The question for them will be in the secondary. They're replacing two guys that are playing on Sundays, and Trent McDuffie and Kyler Gordon. And they don't have a guy who's that. Jordan Perriman transferred from UC Davis, played for our good friend, the Hawkins family, Dan Hawkins over there. He transfers up. He's probably the best DB, best corner they have. But guys that played a lot of ball. Right? Asa Turner's played a lot of football there at safety. I don't know. We'll see kind of how it shakes out, but I'm intrigued by them.